The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
All right, back here, Dinner with the King. I'm Glenn Moore, joined here by WWE Hall of Famer and Memphis native Jerry the King Lawler. And Jerry, I got here late. My time zones are confused when I come here and record here in Memphis, and I was hoping to see a crowd here around you. You had an autograph session here at your barbecue restaurant, and I got here late, and you've been waiting for me.
Well, you're right. It's between it's between mealtime. I got here at 11 o'clock when we opened up today, and we had several hundred people come through. I was here, but all the way up till 2 o'clock is what the advertised time for my appearance was. And man, people came through. I'm telling you, we had a great crowd. People coming through. We were signing pictures for them, and a couple of first. We had some people that saw that on Twitter that I was going to be here. They were driving from New Jersey to they were driving from Philadelphia all the way home to Texas. They had been in Philadelphia for like a sports card show, and they just saw it on Twitter. They pull off the interstate and come right over to the restaurant there, and it was awesome. We just had a lot of people there and signing pictures. Some guy brings up, I've signed a lot of pictures in my day, but this is the biggest picture that I've ever signed. I don't know where it came, where he got it, or how it came about. But I take it back. I do know because he told me. But it was a big billboard size thing. It was 10 feet by 10 feet in diameter. Yes, 10 foot by 10 foot, and it had been used to advertise a match that I had with Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. And it was just this big billboard sign that had been placed somewhere in the city, and this guy had it. And he had it all, it was on a big piece of canvas, all rolled up. And he calls me out to the front of the store, and he rolls this thing out, and there's this huge picture that he wanted me to sign. So it was quite a turnout there today, and I missed you, Glenn. Now you talk about the time zone confusion. Memphis, of course, is on Central Time. You're from Cleveland, which is on Eastern Time. So you should never be late because you're an hour ahead.
Well, and you also say this was between meal times. King, there is never a between meal times when it comes to me, buddy.
Yeah, well, I understand that.
and thank goodness
they say Glenn Moore is a light eater. What that means by that is when it gets light, he starts eating.
Thank goodness you had the doors here widened for Kenny Bolin to get that big 10 by 10 by canvas in the door.
And today another guy came in with a Kenny Bolin shirt on.
Oh God!
I don't know how he sends these people in like this and keeps doing this. It's just it's amazing to me.
Well, he's banned from the restaurant, banned from the podcast, but we can't ban his fans.
I've never seen such an attention. What the word is, but I'm just going to say it. An attention seeker, like Kenny Bolin. My gosh, he tries to turn everything that he does into some sort of publicity about himself. And who is Kenny Bolin anyway?
Yeah,
he calls himself. He said back when he was 7 years old, he was the king of kickball, and I think that's his last accomplishment.
Jeez, I don't know. And speaking of attention, Jerry, you're getting plenty of attention. I mean, here you are, Jerry the King Lawler, getting name dropped on an NBA draft show in the year 2017. And a lot of people might not know who LaVar Ball is. He's one of those overbearing basketball dads. His son got drafted by the Lakers. LaVar Ball is a great talker on the mic. He can spin his game. And Reese Davis from ESPN compared you and Ric Flair with LaVar Ball. And your Twitter started blowing up during the NBA draft.
That's what I heard. I wasn't actually watching the draft at the time. I think I may have been watching a Cleveland Indians game. But the Twitter started blowing up. And then so I asked somebody exactly what he said. And apparently this Reese Davis said, hey, this LaVar Ball, he's quite the talker. He talks like they talk up in the WWE. He talks like Jerry Lawler or Ric Flair. And so I didn't know if that was – I didn't take it as a I mean, I guess a compliment in the fact that, the guy's in Reese Davis's eyes, a good talker, or somebody that talks a lot of smack to get attention and on himself. And apparently that's what he was doing. So yeah, I even sent Reese a little a Twitter note saying thanks for the shout out. But then I guess apparently LaVar Ball and his son Lonzo were on Raw Monday night. Since Raw was in L.A. at the Staples Center, and so I guess he did some talking on Raw, and apparently his son did a little talking, and I'm glad they didn't compare me to his son Lonzo, because I don't talk like that. I've been 24 years on WWE, and I never said the words that Lonzo said, or if I did, I would have been fired immediately.
Now I think I don't think it was Lonzo. I think it was LaMelo, his other the younger son, that said it.
Oh, I thought Lonzo was the younger son. So it was LaMelo.
Yeah, LaMelo. He's the one that I think they has had it slip twice on a hot mic on national TV in front of 3 million people watching at home, and it's caught fire. But yeah, it's so I mean, but the thing is, people are NBA people tuned in to Raw. I mean, it's all about getting more eyes to the product, and
and I saw on TMZ. I guess they asked. I think it was some famous rapper. I mean, hey, that's just society today. That's the way people talk. But they asked some famous rapper, said, "Hey, what'd you think of LaVar Ball on Raw last night?" And this guy said, "Yeah, man, he effing killed it." Except he didn't say effing, So, I mean, that's just, I don't know. I guess that kind of language is acceptable to some people.
Well, if you said that, you get fired immediately.
Immediately. Yes, you're right.
You'd be gone. You'd be banned.
Man, I got in trouble just for saying that Nia Jax was a big girl.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if I had said something like the Balls said?
But I thought it was, I'm not sure if you watched it or not, but I thought it was an entertaining segment. I think it got to the point. LaVar Ball is a character and a half, and with The Miz, who is a great talker, and we're going to talk about The Miz this week. I thought it was a good pairing. People hated it. I think true wrestling fans, maybe people that don't like seeing,
what do you mean? What do you mean people hated it?
I think the people that love wrestling. And they hate seeing the celebrity people come into wrestling that have no, business of being in the ring, get some, airtime on professional wrestling TV. I think those people probably hated it. What
would those people be called? Like a wrestling purist or something like that?
Yeah, but
I consider, what those people need to chill out. Those people need to lighten up. I mean, good grief! Anytime you can get anybody that's in the news, come on, that's one of the things that. Every week when we would go and get ready to do Raw or SmackDown Live, I mean, you would watch the news or scan the newspapers because you want to be topical. You want to talk about what's happening currently. You want to be current with your commentary and show that the world that, hey, we're out there. We know what's going on. We're not just in our own little wrestling world here where we don't know what's going on in the world. And so anytime you can bring anybody that's in the news or in the public eye other than wrestlers like LaVar Ball, I think that's a great thing. I think it's awesome to have them on the show. So hey, and if they're good, that's a good thing. If they're bad, who cares? It's them. It's not, I don't think it should be a reflection on the WWE because they bring somebody on that's topical and then suddenly they drop the ball or they're not as entertaining as you thought they were going to be, but I think it's great anytime you have anybody on the shows that's currently in the news in any kind of, whether it's sports or whether it's news or whatever it's about.
Now, as of this recording, the ratings for Raw haven't come out. The Nelson ratings with the numbers of people who watched.
I thought it was Nielsen.
I'm sorry. Nielsen. But the social media ratings, came out in time for our recording, and they had almost 200,000 interactions on Twitter. And the previous week, Jerry.
Yeah, and 199,000 of those are the WWE tweeting.
And then they had.
But that's okay.
And then the previous week,
I almost have to mute them when Raw or SmackDown is on. It's like It's like, every 2 seconds is a tweet from the WWE. It's like, but I can understand that too. I guess they're tweeting for people that aren't watching the show.
Yeah, true. And then, but I'm saying they almost,
because they give a play-by-play, second-by-second review of the show. Like maybe 100,000 tweets per show.
So they almost doubled their social media. So it worked. I mean, a lot of people were talking about Ball and his time on on Raw. So it worked. More eyes for the product. They're talking about it, which I think obviously people in the office want to have more interaction and people watching the show. So
exactly. I mean, I remember when I was doing Raw and SmackDown, I used to always try to out current or out topical JR, or especially it's always hard to out topical JBL because he's always every time you look at JBL, he's like looking at Twitter, the
Fire
news.
JBL.
So, do what?
Fire JBL. That's the hashtag. That's always on Twitter. People want to fire JBL.
That's gone. That's way.
I know.
No, but JBL always really, he was always in the news, reading the paper and all this sort of stuff, trying to stay real topical. And during his commentary, he was always out there with right up to the minute. I would sometimes look over at him and think, damn, is he watching the news or is he watching this match? It's like a breaking news story, and he would comment on it.
So, like I said, you were in Jerry Lawler name drop on the NBA draft, which led to LaVar Ball on Monday Night Raw, and interaction and people watching the product.
Yeah, you would have thought they would at least call me into
the King's Court.
Yeah, or at least say something to LaVar Ball since he mentioned me.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I was hoping that maybe a King's Court, fly you out to L.A., have your little King's Court, have him come on. You guys can go, spar with words back and forth. I mean, that would have been great.
Well, would have been great to you and I. Obviously, to the WWE creative staff, it wouldn't have been that great.
Well, they missed an opportunity, I believe. Now, here's a match that could happen. Here's something that could happen. Cody Rhodes.
Well, speaking of great, before we change the subject and being topical and everything, I know you had to watch it, and this, and I'm going to tell you, this is the reason that you're having to, we talked before we went on with the podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened on Raw, because to be honest with you, I didn't watch Raw Monday night.
You're watching the Tribe come back and win.
Was that not the greatest comeback in the history of baseball?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't the greatest comeback?
No, Jerry, you're a Tribe fan. The greatest comeback was in 2001 when the Indians were down 14-2 against the Mariners. Remember that? Oh,
yes, you're right.
2001, man.
But this was just, the Monday night was just such a needed victory. I mean, they haven't. I think they've gone the longest in span in the major leagues history of not having a 4-game losing streak. Right?
I can't.
Yeah, I think they've gone longer than any other team without having a 4-game losing streak. And this was going to put them on a 4-game losing streak and really, I think, would have took the wind out of their sails, possibly for the rest of the season. And they're down 9-2 in the third inning, right?
Yeah.
And they come back and win 15-9, 13 unanswered runs. It was amazing. It was just unbelievable. I couldn't change the channel. I mean, even in commercials, I didn't even switch over to Raw. I was just that mesmerized by the Indians game.
Yeah, but it's not good to see Carlos Carrasco get lit up.
No, it was not good. But you know what? Hey, Carlos has been so good in so many games that I think that was just a brief. I think that was a hiccup. I think he'll be fine.
We want to give a little well wishes to Terry Francona, who will not be managing tonight because apparently he's sick. It's nothing life-threatening, but he won't be managing tonight on a Tuesday. So well wishes to him.
I think Carlos, when he was watching those first 2 innings, that might have given him a little bit of a. It almost put me under the weather as well.
Well, Francona left. Terry Francona left.
Yeah, I know it. Right after the third inning or something like that.
So he was sick.
When they were still down 9-2,
yeah.
and maybe that's what made the troops rally together and say, "Hey, come on, let's get going here. Let's win this one for Terry Francona."
Well, your Tribe playing well, and hopefully they can carry out through the summer. Really quick, Edwin Encarnacion, man, he has been heating up.
Yes, he has. I mean, and hopefully it's just exactly what you say. Maybe the warmer the weather gets, in the heat of summer, he is going to really be hot because he started off. Whew, I along with I think everybody else had their doubts of if that was a wise move picking him up or not. But man, yeah, he's turned it on the month of June. It's been awesome.
All right, back to what I was going to say before.
Wow, what are you typing there? Why do you bring your laptop into the restaurant?
I got research. I got notes.
Oh, you're trying to be topical.
I'm trying to be topical.
Something happens, you're going to talk about.
I got a whole list of notes that I have in case you bring something up, or if I had to bring something up. And speaking of bringing something up, your name was brought up.
Wait, the restroom's back there. If you're feeling sick. Oh, you're not talking about bringing that up, right?
No.
Not your food.
No. Cody Rhodes dropped your name. He was on a conference call this morning, I think, to promote New Japan Pro Wrestling. And the Wrestling Observer was tweeting out just little quotes from the conference call. And Cody was asked, who would you want to wrestle, now that you've made your indie, he's on the indie scene now. He's making a lot of money. He said he's made more money on the indie scene than he does with WWE. And they asked him, who he wanted to face. And he mentioned Kenny Omega. And then he mentions Jerry the King Lawler. And I know you have a long history with the Rhodes family. You're very close to them. And you and Cody, he would love to wrestle you one-on-one, Jerry. So do you officially accept the challenge if a promoter comes up to you and says, hey, we're going to have you and Cody wrestle at a show?
Oh, absolutely. And I wouldn't doubt for 1 minute that will happen, probably in Northeast Wrestling with our buddy Michael Lombardi, who runs that company, and I work a lot of shows for Michael, and so does Cody. As a matter of fact, the last time I was at a show, well, maybe I think he's been on one since then. But the last show I actually got to go up and watch the match was a Northeast Wrestling show, and Cody Rhodes wrestled Kurt Angle, and it was a fantastic match. I mean, it was amazing, and it just, I guess it just sort of highlights there are some people in the WWE who are still very capable of wrestling and still love to get in the ring and perform, but for one reason or the other, the creative staff or the medical staff or some people think that they're just I don't know if you want to say a liability or whatever, but for one reason or other, they won't clear them to wrestle. And, I'm one of those guys. I think Daniel Bryan is one of those guys. I know Kurt Angle is one of those guys. I know all of these guys would really still like to be in the ring, maybe not on a full-time schedule. Certainly I wouldn't on a full-time schedule as everybody else is. But I think these guys, there's some guys that still have a lot to offer and that would still love to be in the ring. And in the case of Cody Rhodes, the Rhodes family, man, I can't tell you, I had some of the greatest matches and some of the most fun matches that I've ever been involved in have been with Dusty Rhodes, Cody's father, and and then of course with his brother, with Goldust, matches with him and calling his matches and some great memories with him as well. And I think I may have been in the ring. You got your laptop there to research? Do you know? I think I've actually wrestled against Cody one time. But maybe in a tag team match.
Oh no! I got barbecue sauce on my keyboard. Oh.
I can't help you with that.
It's going. It's on the keys.
Ooh, and look, you got the sweet sauce too. Of course you
no! Okay, the C button doesn't work.
That's going to be like all sugary and really sticky.
The C button doesn't work. I had to put Odie Rhodes, Jerry Lawler. Okay. All right. So you guys wrestled in a tag team match. I believe it was 2008. Cody was. They were world tag team champions, him and Ted DiBiase Jr. And
yes. Oh my gosh, I remember that. And guess who my partner wound up being? It wasn't scheduled to be this, but guess who my partner wound up being to go for the world tag team titles?
The coal mine.
Michael Cole.
Michael Cole.
Oh, well, that was way before the coal mine. I think that was Michael was just, I don't know.
I think this was his first match ever.
Probably so.
He had to wrestle in his suit, and there was no commentary because he was by himself and he had to wrestle. There was no commentary for that match.
Ugh. Well, that was probably that's probably because nobody wanted to commentate. Me and Cole being partners in there.
But yeah,
did we? I don't think we won the world championship, did we?
No, you're not a tag team champion.
No. Well, anyway, but back to Cody Rhodes. Yeah, I mean, and I really am honored that he mentioned me, and I think that's just one of those things that he knows that I have a history with his dad and his brother, and that he would like to, have a one-on-one match. It's sometimes you just like to do something just to be able to say you did it, and I think that's one of those things that Cody was talking about when he mentioned me, and I think that match may well happen.
It's awesome to see a guy like Cody Rhodes who, a great wrestler, has the Rhodes name, and he put a tweet out or he talked about making more money on the indie scene than he did in WWE. It's a good example that a lot of guys who are successful in the indie scene, and everybody asks them, when are you going to go to WWE? When are you going to go to WWE? They're making a lot of money. Why do they have to go to WWE? When they're comfortable on their own schedule, they're making a lot of money. It's good to see that WWE, isn't that, obviously people want to go, but they don't, they don't have to go. They're not, they're not starving to get there like maybe it was, back 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, and there are a lot of independent shows out there right now. I mean, literally, and I'm talking about myself now. Look, and here's a guy who I am so fortunate that I could say that I could still get in the ring and not embarrass myself or anything like that, and put on an entertaining match at 67 years old. But these younger guys, I mean, I can still do it, and I do still enjoy doing it periodically. I don't want to be out there every single weekend, but literally, I can understand what Cody is saying because of the bookings that I turned down. And this is me talking. This is not like a young guy like Cody Rhodes who's in his prime and in great physical condition and just could go out there every night if he wanted to. I mean, I turned down so many bookings that, but if I took every booking that I wanted to take, or just maybe if I just wrestled every weekend, if I wrestled Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday, yeah, I mean, even I could be making more doing that than I was making, when of course I'm still signed with the WWE, but I could make more doing that than my WWE contract would be.
Wow.
So I know a lot of these guys, out there are doing well on the independent circuit. So yeah, I mean, I think the thing about going into the WWE is wanting to be in the WWE. It's because of that's where you're seen. That's where you're these independent shows. They don't have TV. They're not. Of course, Cody is. I mean, I guess he's doing some stuff with Impact and and some of the other places that do have TV. But the main thing is being on television, and that's what, in the eyes of the general public, that's when you're a big star, is when you're seen on Raw or SmackDown. And so that's what everybody aspires to. They want to be on those shows because in the just to the general public out there, that's what makes you a big star in wrestling.
And we've seen, guys leave WWE, go out on their own and make a name for themselves and then come back a bigger star and, not really forcing WWE to put them on a bigger platform, but, turning some heads and saying, wow, okay, well, you made it on your own on the indie scene or overseas in Japan or whatever, and they are wanted to come back to WWE, wanting by the creative, and they're put in a bigger stage. So sometimes maybe a guy needs to leave and make his mark on his own to, really turn some heads and possibly get a look to come back on and be pushed even greater than where they were when they were here the first time. Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's just, that's basically the way it is. It's a big world out there, and hey, I'm under contract to WWE. I just spoke with one of the guys that's my main boss, Kevin Dunn, the other day. We were talking, we were tweeting, or not tweeting, we were texting back and forth about baseball. He's a big Baltimore Orioles fan, and the Indians were playing the Orioles, and we were going back and forth about that, and he said, I forget how he said it, but anyway, it was just like, hey, when am I going to get to see you? And I'm thinking, when are you going to get to see me? And so I tweeted back. I said, well, I'm just sitting here looking at the telephone right now, waiting for it to ring. When that's kind of up to you guys. And so he said, yeah, you're right. I'll fix that. So who knows? I mean, I've gotten into one of those positions, into one of those situations where, yeah, it's funny when people will come up to me and say, well, I don't see you on Raw or SmackDown anymore. Are you not with the WWE? And I'll explain to them, yeah, I'm still with the WWE, and I do some stuff with mostly the pay-per-views and the network now, more so than anything, but not, I'm not a regular on Raw and SmackDown. But the longer I stay off, I almost dread hearing that phone ring. I mean, honest to goodness, I was thinking just about that when we talked earlier about the LaVar Ball comment. I said I would have been miserable if all of a sudden my phone had rang on Sunday and they said, "Hey King, you heard about LaVar Ball said about you. We want to fly you out to Los Angeles and do the show with him on Monday night, and then we'll fly you back home on Tuesday." I would have gone, okay, I'll be there. It's one of those things that after you've done it for so long, the time and the travel gets to be such a headache, But anyway, what were we talking about? You got me. My train of thought got sidetracked.
No, it's good stuff, Jerry. Here's a question for you before we move on to our main topic for this show.
Oh, we were talking about Cody Rhodes and our match.
Yeah,
I looked for that. I mean, I bet that'll happen sometime within the next few months, and I'll let everybody know on Twitter. We'll let them know on here when it's going to happen, where it's going to be.
Definitely. We'll let Cody know that you accept, and have somebody book it and pay you guys to face off one-on-one in the ring somewhere. Here's a question. We were talking about guys who, on that list, on the WWE, do not touch list. You got Daniel Bryan, who is itching to get back in the ring. And you got Kurt Angle as well, is iffy about him. I'm going to ask you straight up, Jerry, if you had to predict either Daniel Bryan or Kurt Angle wrestling in a WWE ring, which one is more likely to? Just based on...
Man, you're really putting me on the spot here now.
This is why
we're just talking over dinner here, and I'm just going to tell you my own personal opinion. I would say Kurt Angle is probably more likely to.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Daniel Bryan will wrestle somewhere, but not in WWE. He's been teasing Ring of Honor, putting out some tweets, when his contract is up, and I think Kurt has a couple more matches in him, some big high-profile matches to close.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I watched, like I said, the night before he started being the general manager up there, I watched him do like a freaking moonsault off the top rope, in a match with Cody Rhodes. It's crazy. The guy can still go, but I can. I don't know if sympathize I can relate to both of these guys' situation. I promise you, neither Kurt Angle or Daniel Bryan got into this business and worked their way to the WWE to be general managers on Raw and SmackDown.
Right.
I can assure you they're doing it, but without a doubt, they're doing it because that's what the WWE wants them to do right now, because they feel that they're wrestling them in the ring would be a liability, as the same as with me. I never got into this business, not one time when I started doing this and loving to do it for the 20 years when I was in Memphis Wrestling. Never one time did I think about being a commentator, and even when I went to WWE in 1993, never dreamed of being a commentator. I got thrown into that role just for one night, and it lasted 25 years. But my love of this business was all about being in the ring, as is Daniel Bryan's, as is Kurt Angle's. And, I know that they would both rather be out there performing in front of all the fans in the ring. And it's got to be eating them both up inside that the WWE thinks that they're not capable of doing this anymore.
Because it does for you. I'm sure it's eating you up inside that you can't get back in a WWE ring,
it doesn't eat me up as bad as it does, I think, those guys, because, they're both younger and Daniel Bryan especially, career gets cut short. I mean, I've had a 46-year long career. So I can't complain, but so I don't. It doesn't eat me up inside. But yeah, do I still want to go out and get in the ring and perform? Yes, I do. That's why I still take independent booking matches. I enjoy doing it. And I know that Daniel Bryan does, and I know that Kurt Angle does as well, and that's why I think both of those guys would love to be back in the ring.
Really quick, King. I watched Memphis Heat over this weekend, and it wasn't the first time I watched it. I watched it a few times before, but I was trying to figure out something to watch while going to bed, and I turned it on, and I didn't fall asleep till it was over again because, me being here in Cleveland, and living in Cleveland, being 33 years old, it's kind of out of my time period, but I love, Memphis, classic Memphis wrestling, and that documentary. I know a lot of people tweet the show and say, I love the Kaufman feud. Oh, I love you in the Attitude Era. But if you really want to know more about, Jerry the King Lawler in Memphis Heat, that documentary, you can actually Google it, look it up to buy it or watch it online. That's a great documentary, man.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, those guys that put that together did a terrific job on it. And a lot of it, the cool thing about it, a lot of it was before my time. I mean, they went back to the 50s and 60s when Memphis wrestling was even flourishing back then, and talked about the guys that were, that were doing it before I was even thought about or while I was just a fan, guys like the fabulous Jackie Fargo, Sputnik Monroe, and Billy Wicks. These guys were known in the city of Memphis. I mean, they were big mega stars here. To the people in Memphis, they were like the John Cena is to the world, because this was in the time when television, it was all local. You didn't see network or nationwide television. So, your wrestling stars that were seen on your local television were the only stars that you knew of. And this, that documentary Memphis Heat goes back, and it just does just what it says. It documents how wrestling became so popular in the city of Memphis, and who the characters were that really put Memphis wrestling where it was. And I, we were talking about my being a commentator, and I think you got to, every time I look at that, we owe so much to the commentators in the wrestling business. I think they're so underappreciated. But Lance Russell and Dave Brown, to me, they were the constant. As far as Memphis wrestling went, those two guys were our commentators, and the wrestlers came and went, but those two guys were always there. And to me, they were Memphis wrestling. The stars were in there doing the action, but without those two guys commentating and hearing those guys call the action every Saturday morning, I don't think it would have been the the huge hit that it was.
I have a question.
What did you like about Memphis Heat? Just the general knowledge that you gained from it about Memphis wrestling?
I loved learning more about Jimmy Hart and how he got his start when you guys had recorded some songs together with the Gentrys, and you had Lance Russell come in the studio, and you're like, Lance, you want to see a record being made, a hit record being made? Just stay in the corner, don't touch anything, and just watch us make a hit.
And that's what we talked about a little bit about that last week with Jerry Lee Lewis's son. Yeah. With Lee on here, we talked about that video that you're talking about there featured his mom. Jerry Lee Lewis's future wife was on that video singing background in one of my songs. And that's another thing. And we'll get back on Memphis Heat in just a second. But when are we going to do one of these podcasts just about my music, about my musical career here in Memphis, and how I almost rivaled Elvis Presley? And but anyway, I want you to play some of my songs on one of these podcasts. Well, I want to force you to listen to it.
Well, I have them. I have the tracks, but they keep breaking my headphones. They keep ruining the sound of my headphones. I have to keep buying new headphones. But
anyway, back to Memphis Heat. It's a good documentary, and like you said, everybody should take a look at that. It's really.
Here's a question from a viewer, and this question gets. I think people ask me personally, when they ask about Jerry Lawler. When you were at your height, popularity in Memphis, and I've hung out with you in Memphis, people recognize you, they want photos, they come out and see you. But at the height of your popularity, Did you literally run the town? I mean, could you get anything you want basically in the city of Memphis at the height of your popularity?
Heck no. No, I could not. What do you mean? What could I get anything I want? What would, just give me an example. Like, what would something that you would imagine that I would want that I could get because I was a popular wrestler?
Like if Jerry Lawler walked into the most popular restaurant in Memphis, if you walked in and you had a meal that you would be, hey, they say it's on the house, Jerry. It's on the house, King.
That happened infrequently. Let me just tell you that. What you'll find usually is people like myself or somebody that people think is famous or well-to-do. They think, oh boy, he's loaded. I'll charge him more than what I would make anybody else pay. But no, I do have some people that will sometimes do that. But I don't know, and I don't even know what year you would be talking about would be in my height of popularity in Memphis. But yeah, it did open a lot of doors, and it did. I can't say that it was a bad thing that you're recognized everywhere you went in the city. It was, there was one month, I can't think of what year, when they were talking about the most recognizable celebrities in the city of Memphis, and I was along with Fred Smith, who owns, of course, Federal Express. He and I were the two most recognized celebrities in the city. So it's been a good thing. That's probably why I've stayed here in Memphis so long. It's not only just my hometown, but it's a city that's been very, very good to me.
And you've been able to run for mayor. You ran for mayor too?
Yes, and not winning was probably the greatest thing that never happened to me.
Really?
Oh my goodness! I look around, because I learned so much about politics and being in the mayor's race. After doing that, I look at people, and not just in mayor's races, but in politics in general, and I just think, why would anybody want to do that? I think right now, do you not think that Donald Trump is saying, why on earth did I run for this office?
I think
win.
I think being the most powerful man of the free world, when you're saying that about being the mayor of Memphis, Tennessee, and then you say Donald Trump or anybody who has been president of the United States of America, how big of a jump that is, and not being overwhelmed, but just being like, why would you want to take on that responsibility?
Right. And I think there's a big difference. I can understand, because that's probably the main reason that I did. There are a lot of people out there that are, self-promoters and are into trying to get as much publicity as they can. Yeah. But and that's probably one of the reasons, about the mayor. Excuse me. Oh, the mayor's thing there. But it wasn't about, at least in my case, it wasn't about gaining power. That has never attracted me. But I think, hey, maybe in a person like Donald Trump's case, or some of the other politicians, I think maybe the power, getting that power means more than just getting the notoriety. Yeah. How on earth are we talking about this now?
Well, I mean, like I said, and people always ask, the height of your career, could Jerry Lawler get anything he wanted in the city of Memphis? But I'm just curious too. That's a good question.
Answer's probably no.
King, I know you've been signing autographs for 3 hours, have people in and out of the restaurant saying hi to us, taking photos. They're all over social media, but you seem to be more relaxed and a little more pep in your step today.
Oh, you noticed that? Can I take a minute to tell you why?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, at least this is why I feel like I feel better today than I've felt in a long time, because last night marked the third night that I've slept on my new Casper mattress. You know what I'm talking about, Glenn? Have you ever heard of a Casper mattress?
I have.
Okay, listen. I've got a new Casper mattress, and it is amazing. And I can't tell you how long. I'll be the first one to admit, your mattress that you sleep on is just something that I think you take for granted, and especially in my case, I can't even remember how many years I had the mattress that I'd been sleeping on. It was like a pillow top mattress and everything. And I don't know, it wasn't something that I really thought about that much. until I heard about Casper mattresses. And I said, you know what, maybe, hey, I'm getting older. I'm still trying to stay out there. I'm still trying to be active. Am I getting the proper rest that I need or whatever? So listen, I logged on, I sent away, and I got this Casper mattress. And of course, a lot of a brochure and everything came with it. And I've studied this thing, and now I've slept on it for 3 nights, and it is amazing. I feel great. This Casper mattress, it's an obsessively engineered mattress, and it's, believe me, before I even get into this, I want to tell you that it's like a shockingly fair price. You won't believe the price on these things, but it's got supportive memory foam, and it creates an award-winning sleep surface that it's just the right sink-in feeling and with just the right bounce. I mean, it's one of those things where, it's not like, but I mean, we tested it. I mean, when I got this thing, it comes in the mail or it comes delivered to you, and it's in this box. When I got it, I thought, that can't be my Casper mattress. The box is not big enough. But this thing comes like, I don't know how they do it, if it's shrink wrapped or whatever, but all the air is sucked out of it. When you take it out of the box and you open the plastic on it, all of a sudden this mattress starts to expand into this full-blown, beautiful king-size mattress that was just absolutely amazing. Like I said, the 3rd night on it, it's just, I've had the best sleep ever. And Casper has this deal right now. If you want to try it, you get 100 nights risk-free in your own home of this Casper mattress. And if you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. Now, Casper understands the importance of truly sleeping on a mattress before you commit, especially considering that you're going to spend a third of your life on it. So you can take this Casper mattress, you can sleep on it for 100 nights, and if you don't like it, you get everything you paid for it completely back, and it's just amazing. It comes with free shipping and returns to the United States and Canada. And you can check it out. There's over 20,000 reviews and an average of 4.8 stars. It's quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to just try this, here's a way you can get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting www.casper.com/dinner, like dinner with the king. So it's www.casper.com/dinner. You use the offer code dinner, and you're going to get $50 towards any mattress that you purchase there. I'm telling you, Glenn, I feel great. I love this Casper mattress, and hey, I wouldn't tell you this if I didn't really mean it. I want you to try it. Check it out. www.casper.com/dinner. You're going to love it. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
All right, so I put a poll out there for this week's show, and I put a few topics. Jackie Fargo, your heart attack, Jerry, the Attitude Era. But it
wasn't a heart attack; it was a cardiac arrest.
Cardiac arrest. I'm sorry.
Big difference.
I'm sorry. We're definitely going to do a show about Jackie Fargo. We're definitely going to do a show about your cardiac arrest. We actually have something special planned more towards the 5-year anniversary. I mean, do we call it an anniversary? I mean, anniversary seems to be like, happy and joyous. I mean, when it comes around every year, I'm sure you're not celebrating, Jerry, that you had a cardiac arrest and almost died.
Well, it's funny about the anniversary is just a term to mark the date of something that happened, and most people, you think of a wedding anniversary, how many years ago you were married, and in some cases that's a happy occasion for people, in some cases it's not. But and for instance, like the big deal here in Memphis, you would think, Elvis was the biggest celebrity ever here, and they don't mark the anniversary of Elvis's birthday. The Elvis week and all the Elvis happenings here in Memphis mark the anniversary of his death. In August of every year they have Elvis week, and that's that's when Elvis passed away. So it would be, and it's coming up on a 5-year anniversary of my passing away there in Montreal, Canada.
You're a zombie.
On live TV, and that's why I do so well at the Comic Cons, because I'm like the walking, talking dead who has actually died and come back to life. We'll do a show about that.
Yeah, we'll do a show more towards the around the 5-year anniversary of that happening.
Which will be this coming up September.
Yeah, this September. It's coming up very, very quickly. I remember you and I were having lunch at Tower City in Cleveland when you came to Cleveland, either for a wrestling show or for a ball game, whatever. And we're having some lunch together, and a guy comes up to you. Obviously, people know who you are. And they said, "Man, I can't believe, Jerry, you had that, cardiac arrest." And you went, "I do, because I lived it. I lived it."
Yeah, I believe I had it.
So, I mean, we're going to do a show about that.
We'll talk about that, but sometimes I don't. I mean, I forget it on a daily basis. I don't, I really don't ever think about it until somebody reminds me of it.
Yeah.
Which you constantly.
Come on. You're a zombie, and you killed zombies in a movie. I'm sure we're going to talk about your acting career as well.
I think the reason why is because I told you I was going to mention you in my will. And you'll be there one day, and the lawyer will be reading it, and it'll say, "And to Glenn Moore, who I promised to mention in my will. Hi, Glenn." And that'll be.
You know what, Jerry? In all honesty, if that happened for real, I would be flattered. I would be honored. So if you could do that, you would make my day.
Even if it just said hi from beyond.
If you said seriously, I'm being 100% serious right now. I know we joke around a lot, but if you actually did that, if I was at this lawyer's office with all these people around and they're giving your stuff away, and last person, Glenn Moore, I say hello. If that was it, I would be honored, Jerry. I don't want anything. I just want a hello. That's from beyond. True.
Drop kick that lawyer right out the window, and you know you would. What? That cheap bastard. Oh, excuse me.
No, not at all. So at the time of Jerry and I doing some show prep, because we do, a couple days before the show, we do some show prep to get our notes together. The leading vote.
Lie,
what?
That's a lie.
Come on.
Go ahead.
We get with the leading votes where it was Jerry's WWE Championship feud with The Miz, battling The Miz twice for the title. And, I don't count. I mean, obviously, you had a WrestleMania match with Cole, that feud. But, when it comes to actual wrestling and actual, a wrestling feud, this is like your last, real feud with somebody, since, that time, because you had your cardiac arrest the following year and you haven't been back in the ring since. So he had a little program with The Miz. Miz is from Cleveland, also Indians fan, big Browns fan. So you guys, share that bond together, being from, both, growing up a little bit here in Cleveland.
The Miz and I have been to Browns games together. We've been down on the field. Yeah. Miz and I with the owner of the Cleveland Browns, and we've sat up in the press box with Chris Perez and watched Cleveland Browns games together, and not the press box, but just in a nice luxury suite, thanks to Chris. But we've hung out. We would be considered buddies, and mainly because of the fact that we have that Cleveland connection.
Now, I know you've been in WWE for many, many years. And The Miz came up as the guy that was on Tough Enough from MTV, a reality star, wanted to be a professional wrestler. What was your initial? Do you remember your initial reaction when you saw The Miz and his little, what he was about when he was first starting WWE? Do you remember that at all?
Well, I do, really. Here is, once again, we talked a little bit about this early on, the wrestling purist, and a lot of wrestlers feel the same way, that there are people who get into our business in one way or the other that may have come from another part of entertainment or another world or another business or something like that and sometimes there's the resentment that people in the business or even fans think, oh, these guys didn't pay their dues. They didn't come up the hard way. They didn't grow up with the passion of really wanting to be a wrestler. They were doing something else. And then, all of a sudden this kind of fell into their lap. And I think, that was sort of the case with The Miz, in the fact that, he had that celebrity from being on The Real World, and everybody knew who he was. And I totally believe that's why Miz got his foot in the door, because the WWE saw, hey, here's a guy who's already famous. Let's take advantage of him. He wants to be in the business, and people already know who he is. We don't have to put a lot of time and effort into making this guy a star. He's already one. And so, and I truly believe that's sort of the way that, Miz came about in the WWE. And some of the guys that had worked their way through years of, blood, sweat, and tears trying to become stars in the business. I'm watching. What am I watching right now? Up on our TV here in the restaurant, they're showing The Miz and LaVar Ball right now, and I think this is on Drennan Live. Yeah, Drennan Live. They're just showing The Miz and LaVar Ball. They're the show from Cleveland right now. But anyway, so The Miz had a lot of resentment from some of the wrestlers, and they made it tough on him. I think somebody threw him out of the locker room at first, and he wasn't even allowed to dress with the other wrestlers. And this is funny from the get-go with my situation, and it's still to this day. I don't dress in the locker room with the other wrestlers. I always dressed. This started back when JR was the head of talent relations. I dressed in the talent relations room, which is a whole nother area that's apart from the wrestlers' locker room, where they all, they're like a football team or baseball team. They all dress in one or two big locker rooms, and so I was always in another locker room. So I didn't get to see that happening to The Miz. The part where he was ostracized from the other wrestlers and not allowed in the dressing room or anything like that. But all I know is that from the get-go, I was a fan of the character. I was the fan of The Miz's character in the fact that, hey, he was he was entertaining, and he was. And I always felt like that's the key word in the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. And so I was a fan of The Miz from the get-go, and I've remained a fan of his. I like it. And to watch him over the years, the guy has really, because we were talking about this earlier too. He's like The Miz is one of the most tenured veterans up there now. This guy's been around a long time, but I remember when he was first starting there. Hey, his work in the ring, his actual ring work, it was not the greatest. I mean, he was not an immediate, ring technician or all that kind of stuff, but he was immediately entertaining. But over the years, man, his work has just it's progressed to a point where The Miz is as good as anybody on that roster, and more entertaining than most on the roster. So I've been a fan of his for a long time.
Now the story goes, and I said, I'm just bringing it up for reference for people who may not know the story. So The Miz was eating some fried chicken, and in the locker room, some chicken was getting into the bag of Scott Armstrong, which is a wrestler. A referee, and Chris Benoit. Can we say his name on the we can say his name on the podcast, right? We're allowed.
I don't care. Yeah, I guess.
I'm kidding. So Chris Benoit kicked him out of the locker room, and Miz was forced to, to change in the hallway or wherever he could. And Chris Benoit, obviously that happened. And I guess the rule is, Jerry, and you can, clarify, if you get kicked out of the locker room, the only way you can get back in is if the guy who kicked you out lets you back in, right?
I don't know. I've never heard of that. That was the first time I'd ever heard of anybody getting kicked out of a locker room.
Oh, okay. So
never heard of it.
So obviously Chris Benoit, is dead, and The Miz is actually still changing in the hallway, even though Benoit is gone. He didn't know what to do, and I guess Undertaker came up to Miz and said, "What are you doing, changing in the hallway still?" This was like 6 months after Benoit, had died, and Miz was allowed back into the locker room, which is a funny story. But
and like I said, I was dressing somewhere else, so I really did not even know that was going on. I mean, I sort of heard about it.
Why did you change it not with the boys?
Well, I think because of the fact that, like, once you started doing the commentary, it was like you weren't one of the boys anymore. I never liked the dressing room setting anyway, where you had to, you're dressing in there with all the guys, and it was just an opportunity to have your own private dressing room was pretty attractive to me, and and that lasted all through JR's tenure there. And then after JR left and John Laurinaitis was in charge and Mark Carrano, I still to this day, I dress, but of course, all while I was doing commentary, my dressing, consisted about like changing shirts, so that was about it as far as I went, as far as getting dressed for the show. So, but yeah, I still dress in the talent relations office when I go there.
So I know, this was 2010, and The Miz had just won the WWE Championship, and the following week he comes out gloating about his win. He's naming off a bunch of names, all the guys who have won the WWE Championship or notable names in the industry, and also mentioning people who haven't won the WWE Championship. And he mentions your name. You grab a mic, you stand up from the commentary table, and you and him go at it. Now, the GM, I think anonymous GM at the time, put you in the match against The Miz in a TLC match on Raw for the title. And obviously, maybe the weekly shows aren't put together in advance, but did you just walk right to the arena that day and they told you, hey, you're going to work Miz for the title in the TLC match? Is that how it went down?
Yeah, that's basically the way it happened. Nobody called me during the week or anything like that. It was just, the day I got there, they called me in and said, hey, we're gonna put you in a match. And this was at a time when it wasn't uncommon at all for me to go in and wrestle a match, even
right.
though I was at commentary, because I was, I don't know, as far as commentary goes, I was at that time probably the height of my popularity, and the fans really, I think it was kind of like a special little treat when I'd get up from the announce table and get involved in a situation. And, and it helped. I think it helped the fact, or it always helped with the fact that what got me in there was just the talking, going back to the LaVar Ball thing. I was able to always, cut a good promo and help build a match through my interviews and talking and that sort of thing. And I just think that I didn't really stop at the time and think, hey, wonder why they're doing this. What's the deal here?
Yeah.
I didn't think they had any intentions of putting the title on me in any kind of way. So I just said, well, this will be cool. This will be fun. It was like we were talking about before. It was just another opportunity to get in the ring and perform in the ring rather than just being at the announce table.
At the time, when this TLC match, obviously you didn't win, and Michael Cole interfered and kind of pulled you down off the ladder while you were reaching for the belt. The setup for that match with you and Cole, I mean, that wasn't even in the minds of people at the time, right? I mean, that was just because Cole was just being a douchebag, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think they had any idea at that time that they were going to have a match with me and Michael Cole at WrestleMania, especially. Right. But that was something that just evolved after the fact that they realized how good Michael Cole was at being a bad guy. But that match with Miz, I started out doing the show on commentary, then went back, put on my tights, put on my boots, and came out, and then here was a tables, ladders, and chairs match all set up for the WWE Championship, and with basically the announcer of the show against your WWE champion. So I that's why I wonder. I don't think anybody really at the time thought that I had a chance to beat, here the commentator going to come up here and beat the WWE champion. But so I think that's why they made it a tables, ladders, and chairs match, to give me an extra advantage in the fact that, in that kind of match, it's almost like, hey, anything can happen. And so, and it did. I think the match worked so well. We play that match every single. It plays at least once an hour here in the restaurant on our big screen TV there. I mean, seriously, why? You just turn around, you'll see it. It's not on right now, but it's on this just this constantly DVD that just keeps going over and over, and that entire Miz match with me is on there. And so I've re-watched it many times, and I think that everybody was surprised at how entertaining that match turned out to be. It was. I got to give props to the Miz. He could have gone in there, and here he is, a new crowned WWE champion, all full of himself, and all of a sudden he's put in a match with the commentator. I think he could have. I think he could have, if that had been his, if his mindset had been, man, this is a come down. Why are they doing this? But that's where I say I got to give credit to Miz. I mean, he treated that match and treated me in that match as if I was like a top contender. We went back and forth, all these good spots, and wound up Miz going through a table that was out on the floor from the top rope in the ring, took an amazing, bump through the table and everything, and leaving me with the clear-cut advantage and the opportunity to, all I had to do was climb the ladder, and the championship would have been mine. And I think at that point, the fans that were watching thought, holy mackerel, this is really going to happen. The King is going to somehow become the WWE champion. And then, of course, Michael Cole comes up from the announce table, grabs my leg right before I get my hands on the championship. And we all know what happened from there. But, to me, that was one of my favorite matches ever in the WWE. That's why I said on a tweet, I said, this was one of my best nights and one of my worst nights, in the fact that, hey, who wouldn't want to be the WWE champion? And, when you've had this, as many championship wins as I have, which, by the way, we'll talk about that sometime too.
Or 200, right?
No, 168. But who's counting? But there isn't anybody else in the history of wrestling that's won that many titles or championship matches. But it's one of those things, we talked about this before too. If it didn't happen in the WWE, it didn't happen. Yeah. Which that's the mindset. And so I had never won a WWE title, still haven't to this day. But that was the closest that I came. And and it really looked like I was going to win that, and I think the fans were behind me in that. And then when I didn't, it was kind of a major letdown. But that did lead into something that turned out to be another first for me, and another big thing that I had always hoped to do, and that was to get a match at WrestleMania. And that the Michael Cole interference and costing me the match in the TLC match led to me going against Michael Cole at WrestleMania, my only WrestleMania match, which resulted in the, heck, I don't care that people know. It was my biggest payday ever in the history of me being in the business. Here's me on an announcer having a WrestleMania match with another announcer, and I don't know how long we were out there, but just a matter of, 11 or 18 minutes, something like that. But anyway, just a matter of a few minutes. And to get paid, I think I got $130,000.
What? For that short match?
For that match.
Just for the match. Did you commentary that night at all? I think you did. I
think I did. I think I did commentate as well.
So did you get paid separately being a commentator?
No, that was just for the match.
Damn, $130,000 for that short little match with Michael Cole.
With Michael Cole, right? Wow. So that was like a great experience for me, and a lot of people knocked the match. We've already done a show about the match,
episode number 2.
Yeah, and so but making $130,000 for that match made it all worthwhile. People can knock it all they want to. I don't care.
That TLC match, before we move on to your little battle royale that you won, that TLC match, there were moments that, really people, I think, I thought that you were actually going to pull it off. I mean, there was that dramatic, moment throughout the match that you were climbing the ladder and had your fingertips on the title. So, I mean, it did its job. It was, it felt like you were actually going to pull it off. And, it was an entertaining match with you and The Miz. So we move on.
Well, and one of the other things that happened in that match, if you remember, he had The Miz had Alex Riley in his corner then, for that match, and one of the most satisfying things was almost towards the end of the match. I got to blast Alex Riley, knock him off the apron, and he crashed through a table. But before that, oh my gosh, before that, and I've told this story a bunch of times. I've been in the business like 45 years or more, and I've been hit hard a lot of times. I've been, by a lot of people. But I swear, I believe the hardest I've ever been hit was by freaking Alex Riley with a clothesline. When I turned around, I had just done something to the Miz, I don't know, in the corner, and I didn't even know Alex Riley was up on the apron. And I turned around, and he comes running down the apron, and just as I turned, he clotheslined me, knocked me down. On the back of my head hit the mat, and we're over by the apron anyway. It was the hardest part of the ring, and I was like knocked out. And I immediately came to, and I said at that time, it was almost like when Dolph Ziggler gave me those 10 elbows before I died, and I said to myself, whatever happened to the days we used to do this and not kill each other? Well, I said, after Alex Riley hit me, when I came to, I said, damn, that is the hardest I've ever been hit in my life.
Wow.
But that was just one of the memories that I have of that match. But the Miz was, that was a great little feud. And then, of course, that also led to later on, if you remember, I got to, and when I think back on these things, I think, how did that happen? I got put in a battle royal with CM Punk, John Morrison, R-Truth, Sheamus, Randy Orton, and John Cena. And those are the participants. And me. I'm in a battle royal with these guys, and I win the battle royal. And it was a battle royal to see who gets a WWE title shot. Now, who in the right mind back in creative was sitting there thinking of, let's have all our top stars in the company, John Cena, CM Punk, Sheamus, Randy Orton, let's have all these guys, and let's throw Lawler in there, the commentator, and he's going to win and get a chance to wrestle Miz for the title.
You've been a booker, you've been a promoter, back in your day. You're a guy that has established yourself, a wrestler / booker. You run territories. Obviously, a big guy in Memphis. At WWE, I'm sure you have some kind of input to what's going on. When they told you this, did you say why, or you just said okay?
Are you kidding? No, of course I didn't say why. I said, this is a great idea, guys. I don't know why you didn't think of it sooner.
Well, to be honest, Jerry, you had a little help from John Cena, though.
Well, a little bit, but John Cena was eliminated, and it was left down to me and Sheamus, and I'm kind of up against the ropes, and Sheamus comes running across the ring. I'll never forget and he threw his foot up to give me one of those brogue kicks, and I swear to you, we need to do a show sometimes about just things that go through my mind when I'm in the matches on certain things. I told you what went through my mind when Alex Riley hit me. What went through my mind when Dolph Ziggler was giving me the elbows. Well, I can remember just little things like that. I remember when I was leaning up against the ropes and Sheamus came running at me, and when he put his foot up and it was going to kick me right in the face, I just remember that his foot looked like it was about 20 inches long. His foot looked like it was about a size 40. And I just thought, this is the biggest freaking foot I've ever seen in my life, and it's about to hit me in the face. And so, I moved out of the way, and then thank goodness John Cena reached up and pulled the top rope down, and just made it to where with the momentum that Sheamus had as he was coming with that big brogue kick, he flipped himself right on over the top rope, and that left me to win. And it was great. John Cena came in the ring and helped, raise my hand, and that was another one of my top moments in the history of being in the WWE.
So you go on 3 weeks later, you're facing against The Miz, Elimination Chamber. It wasn't the main event. It was before the chamber match with the 6 guys you mentioned that was in the Battle Royal.
You see Lauren over there? She just said, are you almost done? Yes, babe, we're almost done.
We'll get there. We're almost done. So you faced... The good thing about WWE, they put together some great video packages. And for your package against The Miz... they had a great video, a little package about you, the Memphis history, some highlights from there. Saying that you never, huh?
I'm just channeling Adam West of Batman. He would have said, "I've heard about your package." when we had him West on my show, he didn't even know what I was talking about. But we had I had just created a character that looked like Frankenstein, and we brought him out in this big box-like coffin. And Adam West didn't even know anything about that. But I said to Adam West, I said, you may have handled the Joker and Mr. Freeze, but I got somebody in a box I'm about to bring out here to make the Joker look like Mickey Mouse. And Adam West just deadpanned and said, I've heard about your box. And he just stopped right there. So that just brought to mind to say, I've heard about your package. I just got off track. I'm sorry.
But the video package was great, to promote you and Miz. But at the time, unfortunately, your mother passed away around this time. Did that take away from this pay-per-view match with the Miz for the title at all with you, or did that, you were more focused on your mother passing away at the time?
Well, I mean, of course, my mom had been not. I mean, it was unexpected in a sense that she wasn't really like immediately sick at that particular time, but my mom had Alzheimer's and had it for like 7 years, and she was in a nursing home in Water Valley, Mississippi, down where my brother lived, and she wasn't doing well, but then when the news came that she had passed away, it was that was my mom, and it was that was the biggest loss I'd ever suffered, so that was all that was on my mind. Hey, I mean, guys from the WWE, John Laurinaitis, Jim Ross, a bunch of people, came to my mom's funeral, and so it was it was a sad time and everything, but then I don't know if that really affected me. I don't know if you could say that it took away from or dampened the intensity of whatever the Miz and I were doing there. I know that it did come into play a little bit later on with Michael Cole. Just even mentioning the fact that my mom died, it became personal, right. And I think it's something that everybody who had ever lost a parent, or even if you hadn't, you could still relate to what it was going to be like if you hadn't lost a parent, But if you had, you certainly could relate to somebody even mentioning that on a television show, connected with something like wrestling. So, but that didn't. I don't think that really affected my match with the Miz.
So you had a 12-minute match with the Miz. You came up short. And this was just a straight wrestling match between you guys. It was. I thought it was a above average match between you and the Miz for the title. I'm not sure if you echo that sentiment, but in this straight matchup, no gimmicks, no tables, ladders. I thought it was a pretty good match.
Well, I did too, and that's one of the things I give props to the Miz for, because here was a guy who is now established. He was well established as being the WWE champion, and he really at this time could have looked at it as, hey, this is just a throwaway match. This is just another match to build me up. So let me make myself look as good as possible. But he didn't do that. And I've long said that the mark of a true champion in wrestling, and this is one of the reasons that I think Ric Flair was so great. Well, I mean, so many of the guys that were champions. Their job was to basically, and if they were good at it, their job was to make the fans think that the guy they were wrestling should be the champion. That's how you made a match entertaining, and that was that was one of the things that Ric Flair was so good at. I mean, he would go to city after city, town after town, and once again, not just Ric Flair. I remember everybody that I had championship matches with, guys like Nick Bockwinkel, guys like Harley Race, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, Jack Briscoe, all the way back to those guys. I mean, every time that I had a championship match with those guys, without a doubt, the fans left there thinking that, that I should have won, that I should have been the champion, that I was a better wrestler than the champion. And so that's what I think about the Miz. I mean, he got that, where some guys, it takes them a while to really get that. A lot of guys go out there and say, I'm going to get myself over. I'm going to make myself look good at all costs. Well, Miz got early on that the way to get yourself over is to make your opponent look as good as you possibly can, and then if you beat him, whew, that makes you look even better than if you just go out and just hammer somebody down and beat them. It's like at the end of the day, what did you do? You didn't really beat anybody. But if you go out there and you make somebody look like they could, that they're better than you, and then somehow you still win the match, then you've beat somebody. Then you've really, that's the mark of a true champion. And I think, like I said, I think Miz got that. I think he gave me a heck of a match, and it was fun. It was good.
Are you a guy? Final question about this feud before we wrap it up. I know Lauren is tapping her foot in the corner over there.
Yes.
Are you a guy that likes to call in the ring? Being old school. Hey, you go out there, you have your couple spots.
Absolutely. Yes,
so,
absolutely.
So when you compete with the Miz, who obviously at this time was a young champion, and obviously you are respected. You have your ways. I mean, when you are preparing for this match with the Miz, are you guys we'll call it in the ring, or are you more?
No. In the WWE, that's became a thing of the past a long time ago.
Yeah.
You didn't call it in the ring. No, you have an agent, and they sit with you, and that's how the match gets laid out.
So even guys like you who are established, guys like obviously like Triple H and those guys, when they have matches now, everything has to be planned out.
Well, I think they just feel like that's the
right way to do it now.
Yeah, that's what the business has progressed into.
You sound sad saying that.
Well, to me, it takes a lot of the spontaneity and a lot of the fun out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from a day really when you dressed. I can remember Nashville, Tennessee. The good guys dressed on one side of the building, the bad guys dressed on the other side of the building, and all the fans in the ring and everything was in between them. You didn't even see your opponent or get a chance to talk to him at all before the matches, and that to me was fun.
I talked to Larry Zbyszko, did an interview with him way back in the day, and he had a match with Bruno Sammartino at Shea Stadium, and they were separated the whole time. They had no opportunity to go over their match, and they called the match. They saw them. They say, "We'll call it in the ring." Here they are in Shea Stadium, thousands and thousands of people, and here they are calling this big match as they go. It's crazy how things change now too. Everything has to be planned out.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about that was you really had an opportunity to go with the feel of the fans. You fed off of their what they were buying or what they liked or what they didn't like in the match, and then, like you said, you didn't have anything to go by. It just went the way that it was. The fans were responding to the best. So that was part of the real fun of the business.
All right, so your Miz match is over. That's the end of the feud when you had with the Miz. I'm not sure if you had some interaction with the Miz later on via Mike. I'm not sure if you guys have run into each other since then on programming. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, we did. We did have a few, because the Miz being the big heel that he was. But then there was times when I of course sort of went back and forth on commentary because I switched a little bit and would back some of the and even I remember sometimes even when the Miz was healing and everything, I would still try to like some of the things he did, and I would be able to explain it because of the Cleveland that we that we shared, and so but I mean, like I said, a big fan of the Miz. I think he still does some of the best and most entertaining work in the WWE today.
Definitely. All right, I got barbecue sauce all over my keyboard. I got to make sure this doesn't dry and ruin my computer. The check is here. I'm going to let you take care of that as I try these baby wipes on my...
thank you so much.
I got to get more baby wipes. You got some baby wipes back there, right?
They're not called baby wipes. Baby wipes are to wipe your rear end with.
Yeah, but you can use it to wipe barbecues. What do you call wet naps?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Up here in
moist towelette.
Up back in where I'm from in Ohio, we call them baby wipes.
I love to bring up the word moist towelette. Remember when Tony Clifton in the movie Man on the Moon? I got to get a moist towelette. As they were throwing him off the lot at Universal.
All right, King. I know Lauren's patiently waiting for you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Looking forward to my time on my Casper mattress tonight.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.